Tzu Chi volunteers distribute corn flour to more than 1,000 affected residents in Malawi to temporarily ward off hunger. Brazil Tzu Chi volunteers distribute cleaning supplies to flood-affected residents to help sanitize and disinfect their homes. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Lori Chen. Thank you for joining us. Today's disaster relief in Zimbabwe began the aid distribution in Chimanimani. Recently, volunteers headed to another hard-hit area to distribute more aid supplies. This time, 4 volunteers from Malaysia joined in the relief efforts.
After departing from Kuala Lumpur International Airport and then transferring in Dubai, volunteers then fly to Harare, the capital of Zimbabwe. This trip took them a total of 24 hours. On April 10th, Malaysia's second disaster relief team finally arrived at the Tzu Chi Zimbabwe liaison office.
I heard that many people here are in desperate need of help, so I'm a bit worried. But if I shoulder the responsibility with a determined heart, it will no longer be difficult.
As soon as volunteers got off the plane, they quickly began to prepare for the next day's aid distribution.
Although we come from 2 different places, it's good to work with local volunteers. Everyone here is very passionate and kind, and we are united with one heart, contributing ourselves to the disaster relief.
With the preparation work from the previous night, the Tzu Chi disaster relief team was able to set out earlier. 18 volunteers travel in 2 cars, along with a truck transporting aid supplies to Kopa in Chimanimani. Volunteers drove 8 hours to get to Kopa from the capital city. Upon arriving at the distribution site, local residents took the initiative to help volunteers unload supplies.
Come and help. Good. Yes.
They volunteered to come here. Seeing we were busy transporting supplies, they came to contribute their share.
Upon seeing us transport supplies, they immediately joined us. We then gave them volunteer vests and they quickly put them on. They all felt joyful as they felt like they were also part of Tzu Chi.
Volunteers brought 2,000 blankets, 720 bottles of water purifying liquid, and 26 folding beds. It was not until midnight the volunteers complete all the preparations.
We are always taught that we are like candles. We should light another person's life. So I feel like I've learned something from them that no matter what happens, you're still supposed not to lose hope.
Although it was raining on the distribution day, volunteers still fulfilled their promise to hold an aid distribution for affected residents. Everyone came to receive supplies in an orderly fashion, and they brought a big bag of supplies filled with love back home.
In Malawi, Cyclone Idai has brought heavy rain, leading the Shire River to be flooded. Tzu Chi volunteers are currently in Nsanje, a city in southern Malawi, to assess the disaster damages. They have also arrived at one of the local shelters, which is lacking food, to distribute corn flour to the affected residents.
Here we are in Nsanje, a city in southern Malawi. After the Cyclone Idai, this place became the shelter of the affected residents. We cannot see any tents over here. The residents have built their own houses with thatch or woods. Some even use plastic bags as building materials. For those who do not know how to build a house, we can see their houses are mostly unfinished. Their roofs are not in good condition, and some houses don't have any walls, but they still have to live there as they have no choices. This pot of food made from corn flours is Nisma, which is their staple food. Although the government has provided land, the affected residents have to build their own houses. This is why they have to search around for building materials. On the other hand, they're worried about the food supplies as they will run out soon.
On the day when the cyclone came, it rained a lot. It was scary because the flooding just kept on getting worse. It washed away everything I had. Now I have nothing left.
Originally, volunteers were there to assess the disaster damages, but they found out the affected residents lacked food supplies. Therefore, they immediately went to another nearby town to buy corn flours for these residents.
The vendor told us they could only give us 20 bags of corn flour because they had limited stock.
Nsanje is the most impoverished city in Malawi. This is why the cornflowers are almost out of stock. The disaster relief mission team has to go to 3 places to get 590 kilograms of cornflowers.
I know it's not enough for them, but we've done our best to help everybody. Thank you.
The cornflowers that Tzu Chi volunteers have bought are life-saving food for the affected residents. Volunteers will continue to accompany them, hoping to help them rebuild their homes.
The Shire River is the longest river in Malawi. Around half of the population depends on this river to survive. But this time, due to Cyclone Idai, the river had burst its banks and flooded many places. In Nsanje alone, more than 80,000 people have been evacuated.
Led by the tribal chief, the Tzu Chi disaster relief mission team is heading to Nsanje, one of the hardest hit disaster-affected areas in Malawi. While traveling there on boat, it's hard to imagine the river they are traveling on used to be roads, and the surrounding farmlands have all been badly damaged. When the volunteers finally arrived at the destination, many houses were severely damaged as well. These young men who have been guarding their homes are still too afraid to stay inside of them. Therefore, they have put out straw mats with mosquito nets outside next to their houses in order to rest. The memory of escaping from the disaster still freshly lingers inside the tribal chief's mind.
I remember seeing the flood was about to submerge my house, and then everyone started to run away. The men climbed up the trees while the women stayed on top of the roofs waiting to be rescued.
Usually, the rainy season in Malawi starts in November and ends in May. Therefore, the situation of the river being overflowing is a normal occurrence. But this year, Cyclone Idai had brought an enormous amount of heavy rain, leading the rivers to burst its banks and caused 81,000 people to be directly affected by the disaster. The government has already given out orders for the villagers to no longer live in the area.
Shire River 的旁边，然后看到他们的房子其实已经
We can see all their houses right beside the Shire River have already been abandoned. Because every time there is heavy rain in the past, the residents' houses will be flooded. But this time, due to Cyclone Idai, the residents have made up their minds to finally move away from this dangerous location.
Almost all the crops have been destroyed. As we can see, it's nearly impossible to cultivate rice again. The residents have understood that they must leave this time around.
Our entire tribe was moved over to the Napumba camp. Although we do not have any farmlands to provide food for ourselves, but at least we are now safe, and that is what matters the most.
The floods have swept away everything. The roads have been cut off, the houses have been damaged, and the residents lost everything. As one can imagine, the road to recovery still has a long way to go.
Currently, there are a total of 50 countries worldwide participating in the Send Love to Africa initiative. Taiwan is, of course, among them. Today, we will meet a Tainan Tzu Chi volunteer who makes delicious homemade tea eggs. After hearing about the news in Africa, she decided to use her own savings to make 1 month worth of tea eggs to inspire other people's compassionate givings.
The secret to make these delicious eggs is that she put lots of efforts into the process of making them. There are 5 ingredients, including Chinese herbs and tea. The amount of every ingredient is calculated professionally. Now she is making the eggs for a good cause.
I worked about 4 to 5 hours a day, so I earn about $324 a month. I use it to buy the ingredients and stew the eggs. All the food will be donated.
She does this to help the affected residents in Eastern Africa. As she works part-time at a breakfast shop, she doesn't earn much. Therefore, she thought about making the tea-flavored eggs to accumulate more love. But there is a problem. Her pot isn't big enough.
I also have large pots, so I want to pitch in and lead every volunteer to do it. I hope the affected people can recover soon.
The other volunteers who work for catering services also provide her with assistance by lending her their equipment as well as helping her repack the herbs. Chen Huilin's love and efforts will surely be spread to the other side of the world.
In preparation of Tzu Chi's 53rd anniversary, the famous baker from Kaohsiung, Fang Han-wu, led a team to the Jingsi abode to help teach volunteers how to make peach-shaped buns.
The peach-shaped buns are filled with joyful festivities, but it is not easy to make them.
The amount of ingredients needs to be very accurate, no more and no less. Today I am responsible for preparing many of the key ingredients.
Besides making the dough on the actual day, the aged dough, which has been fermented for both 48 and 24 hours, will also be added. The most important thing is temperature control. This is the secret of how to make tasty buns.
The temperature will gradually rise when it is being stirred, so we have to control the temperature with ice. After the stirring process, the temperature should be controlled at 24 degrees Celsius. This way, the buns will both taste good and look beautiful.
Over the past 10 years, the famous baker from Kaohsiung, Fang Han-wu, has invited many bakeries to the Jingsi abode to make peach-shaped buns for Tzu Chi's annual anniversary preparation events. This year, staff members from the Hualien Tzu Chi Medical Center also came to help out.
When I kneaded the dough myself, I learned a lot of tips during the process. First of all, I have to ensure the opening should be right in the middle. As for the pointy part, it should be molded. By using the gap between one's fingers, it must be done in a timely manner. I'm very impressed with many of our Tzu Chi volunteers' skills.
The physician has instantly turned into a baker. The medical professionals do not feel tired, and they made the buns mindfully.
The peach-shaped buns bring blessings to everyone, especially when they return back to the Jingsi abode. They will also receive blessings from Dharma Master Zhen Yan. Everyone feels very happy. They all hope to cultivate blessings and grow wisdom.
The steamed buns will be shipped and packaged and finally distributed to all the individuals who are conducting the pilgrimage. Volunteers ensure everyone will be able to share the joy of Tzu Chi's anniversary celebration.
In the beginning of March, Sao Paulo, Brazil was hit by heavy rain, which led to massive flooding. Local Tzu Chi volunteers relayed the news back to Taiwan, and a disaster relief team was quickly formed to distribute cleaning supplies for the affected residents.
After the heavy rain in early March, the city of Itaqua, Caquetuba, has yet to see floodwaters retreat after 2 weeks. Volunteers waded through the water to help those in need. One volunteer, Renata, feels very helpless because from the beginning of January, there have been many floods, leading her to raise furniture off the floor. This includes the mattress and quilts Tzu Chi gave 3 years ago.
These 2 mattresses were obtained 3 years after the Tzu Chi disaster relief was made.
She remembers his kindness and joined the ranks of volunteers to visit others suffering from floods. She often remembers Tzu Chi volunteers and their acts of kindness.
3 years ago, the floods came and it was too late to rescue the mattresses. The ones that we have now were all issued by Tzu Chi. My sons are still using them until now.
Seeing the troubles of local residents, especially after the water eventually recedes, there may be a problem with mosquito breeding. This has led volunteers to issue 180 sets of cleaning supplies. This first distribution of aid and assistance includes resources to engage in cleaning and disinfection work. Vegetarian lunches were also available on site to persuade more people to become vegetarian and more environmentally friendly, helping reduce our overall impact upon the earth.
Continue our series on Cambodia. The local government has been encouraging foreign investment, which has led many Taiwanese entrepreneurs to enter the country. To take advantage of the possibility of making a better living, many individuals are rushing to study Mandarin as a result.
To study the Chinese language, this 15-year-old treats the door of her house like a blackboard. This shows the hardships of this impoverished family.
Tzu Chi helps send rice each week. We do an evaluation every 3 months, and then we decide what type of assistance they need. If I can speak Chinese, then I can do translation, and it will be easier for me to get a job.
The ambitions for these children at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder are often the chance to make money. Volunteers often hear about how they want to leave this lifestyle as they put their faith in education. At the only Chinese school in this area, the Tzu Chi Foundation has been providing assistance for the construction of facilities. 23 years have passed, and this campus covers a total area of 3,200 square meters with more than 700 students. Some 30 to 40% of the students in a 4-kilometer radius attend this school. These concrete buildings are resistant to the elements, which is giving these impoverished students a place to study and a chance to change their fortune. Chen Jinyue is a teacher at this school and was a student from the 3rd intake of students. After graduating last year, she gave up the chance for a high salary and came back to her alma mater to be a teacher. She cares for all her students deeply, and 15 other teachers and the principal have made the same sacrifice.
If the school didn't care for me, then I wouldn't be where I am today. I don't need a high salary. I don't need it as I want to care for these students.
There are many factories around this school. They frequently come here to find students to do translation or give them work.
Chen Chenhe was orphaned from a young age. 9 months ago, he came to this vegetarian restaurant run by Taiwanese to become a cook. In his spare time, he studies Chinese.
A monthly salary of $300 to $400 can be earned by doing Chinese translation. I want to study a little more here and also learn the computer. This will let me earn more money when I work.
Encourage them to go elsewhere for work. I don't want the students to just stay here. Everyone has different family considerations. Restaurant salaries are rather low. It's about $150 to $200. This large factory run by an overseas Taiwanese businessman has some 90% of the workers come from other provinces.
In agricultural provinces, there are few opportunities for employment. That's why they come here with most of the foreign companies stationed within 60 kilometers of Phnom Penh.
In the past 10 years, many foreign businesses have rushed in. And in the past 5 years, the number of Chinese in Phnom Penh has grown from 30,000 to 50,000, helping usher in a new era and more opportunities for many to escape poverty.
Rofi is a Tzu Chi scholarship recipient in Indonesia. When he was 3, his parents got a divorce. In order to help his mother make ends meet, he once dropped out of junior high school. Later, he really wanted to finish his education, so he worked many part-time jobs. Fortunately, Tzu Chi's timely assistance made it that much faster for him to achieve his goal.
Rofi was assigned by his teacher as the Boy Scouts leader because of his positive learning attitude. However, he once dropped out of school.
When I was 3, my parents got divorced. Later, my mom raised me alone. Once I quit school when I was a junior high school student, but I thought I had to complete education. Therefore, I decided to do part-time jobs and help my mom make money. When I was going to graduate, my mom told me that she could not afford my tuition fees for further education, so I had to figure out some ways to solve the problem.
Through a friend's introduction, Rofi took the initiative to ask Tzu Chi for help. After visiting his family, volunteers provided aid for his education.
I attended various Tzu Chi activities. The volunteers brought me to cultivate compassion for earthquake-affected residents. I also took part in volunteer training sessions to learn etiquette. Tzu Chi helped me a lot in shaping my moral character and improving my family's financial situation.
Rofi is a well-behaved and disciplined child. He has good academic performances, so I am very grateful. He never increases any burden on me.
As the oldest son, Rovi's ideal is to give his family a better life. He hopes he can find a good job after graduating from college.
Tzu Chi Malaysia chapter held the 2018 Jingsi Aphorisms photo contest. The contestants came from all parts of Malaysia. They chose their best photos to reflect Dharma Master Zheng Yan's Jingsi Aphorisms. Let's check out some of their works.
When neighbors are respectful to each other, the society can become peaceful. When everyone can treat each other courteously, the society can become harmonious.
The lotus represents the blossoming great love. It can blossom at any place.
The contestants use photos to set off the meaning of a Jingsi aphorism. This couple works and grows together.
When you begin to contact photography, you'll touch everyone's life everywhere.
We must be grateful, and I feel this is the basic requirement of being a human. It was not until I got to know Jingsi Aphorisms did I understand this phrase.
Some people purposely capture the touching moment.
When you transplant seedlings, you must walk backwards, but actually you step forward. I want to capture this image to remind myself that the Master always reminds us to bow low like a mature ear of rice. We must remain humble towards everything.
Tzu Chi Malaysia chapter holds a Jingsi aphorism photo contest. The winners have not only been awarded for their photographs, but have also been enlightened by their photos.
Recently, 32 volunteer in training and 5 Korean Dharma masters especially visited the Tzu Chi Recycling Education Center in Daehu. They learned all about Tzu Chi's environmental protection mission and hope to bring back to Korea the amazing things they've learned.
A group of 5 Dharma masters and 32 training volunteers from Korea have paid a visit to Tzu Chi Recycling Education Station in Daehu to learn more about recycling. While touring, they were inspired by the fact that the recycling volunteers are all seniors. Members of the group seize every opportunity to ask questions. At the paper recycling section, they asked the volunteers why paper must be divided into so many types.
Why am I cutting the paper? Because the black ones will be bleached, and bleaching requires water. Then you see the water will be polluted, and if the water is polluted, it's not good for everyone's health. This is why.
So he's cutting the paper because the white ones don't need to be bleached, but the black ones need to. This way he can protect the earth as well as reducing the use of water.
The process of turning the plastic bottles into eco-friendly blankets also attracts everyone's attention. Tzu Chi volunteers hope to realize this valuable experience in Korea.
Today we've learned a valuable lesson. We want to promote recycling in Korea. However, we don't have many recycling stations. By visiting the recycling station in Daehu, we saw how volunteers sort the recyclables, and the volunteers understood what we've said. This is truly a memorable experience for us. We are grateful for Dharma Master Zheng Yan. In the future, we want to inspire more people in Korea to implement recycling in their daily lives.
Vietnam Tzu Chi volunteers have been hard at work sharing the Send Love to Africa initiative with various local communities. They have inspired a lot of people to do good deeds together. Please keep praying for Eastern Africa. Thank you for watching. See you next time.